Walking through the twisting maze at the Winchester Mystery House evokes a mixture of feelings. The mansion is beautiful, yet bizarre. More questions arise than answers. Was it madness, or was it misguided genius that drove Sarah Winchester to build obsessively until the day she died? The fascinating story of the Winchester house has its roots in deep personal tragedy. After losing her infant daughter Annie to a childhood illness, and 15 years later her husband to tuberculosis, Sarah was consumed by grief. Living on the Eastern Shore at the time, the bereaved Sarah visited a Boston medium to help ease the pain of her tragic losses. Sarah's deceased husband, William Wirt Winchester, was the munitions baron who produced the Winchester repeating rifle, also known as the gun that won the West. The medium is said to have explained to the wealthy widow that her misfortune, as well as her fortune, were the result of the countless lives lost to the Winchester rifle. Sarah would bear the wrath of those spirits unless she took precautions. The remedy? Sarah was to make her surroundings attractive to kindly spirits, who in turn would keep the evil spirits at bay. She was to build a house on which work would never cease, and as long as this occurred, she would live eternally. So, in 1884, Sarah traveled to California, purchased an 8-room farmhouse in San Jose, and began the work that would never stop until the day she died. She hired 22 carpenters who built 24 hours a day for 38 years. The result is eerie. Corridors snake through a maze of shadowy rooms. Stairways rise, only to end abruptly at ceilings. Doors open onto solid walls. It's easy to get lost here. But some think that's just the purpose. Sarah wanted to confuse unwanted ghosts, yet provide a comfortable respite for the spirits she wished to entertain. To this end, she spared no expense. With an inheritance of $20 million and an income of $1,000 a day, cost was no object. Turn-of-the-century opulence is evident everywhere. Priceless Tiffany windows compete with sculpted English wallpaper for splendor. Rich hues of African mahogany, rosewood, and teak shine in the delicately carved woodwork. A full staff was required to keep the estate running. In addition to the carpenters who built and rebuilt at their boss's pleasure, Sarah also hired 20 domestic servants and 18 gardeners to cultivate the grounds. One of the gardeners' first tasks was to plant a 6-foot cypress hedge to conceal the estate from curious neighbors. Sarah paid her workers more than twice the going rate, yet she also fired them over the slightest disagreement. Those who stayed on learned to cater to her whims. One of those whims was that she would under no circumstances be seen without her veil. This photo, taken secretly, was surely an exception. Sarah cloaked herself in mystery, and it is the eccentric qualities of the mansion that attract thousands of visitors today. The number 13 abounds. rooms with 13 ceiling panels, and 13 windows. Windows with 13 panes. 13 bathrooms. A glass window with 13 stones in a spiderweb pattern. And this German chandelier originally had 12 fixtures, but Sarah added a 13th to it. Seemingly unmysterious was the bell tower. It was known to toll at noon and 5 p.m. to summon workers to their meals. Yet, neighbors claimed that at midnight, the bell would toll again to summon Sarah to her nightly seance. Rumor has it that Sarah would steal through her Victorian labyrinth, disappearing into this blue seance room. There's only one way in, but there are 3 ways out. One is disguised as a closet, and another drops straight down to the kitchen sink on the level below. 13 coat hooks presumably awaited the cloaks of 13 ghostly guests. Here, it's said that Sarah would consult with the spirits for inspiration on the building process. The results of these nightly consultations are intriguing. Staircases that lead to nowhere. Doors on the second floor opening into thin air. Storage cabinets with 1/2 inch of storage space. And skylights emerging from the floor. When Sarah left the seance room, she would select one of the mansion's 40 bedrooms. Sleeping in a different bedroom each night, Sarah was able to confound the evil spirits. But it must have proven confusing for Sarah's 20 domestic servants as well. Sarah found the solution in a servant call system, or annunciator. With it, her servants could quickly determine her whereabouts when she called. In fact, the annunciator is just one of the many innovative devices that Sarah integrated into the mansion. Others include carbide gas lights that were fed by the estate's own gas manufacturing plant. A specially designed window catch proved very practical. It was patterned after a Winchester rifle trigger and trip hammer, and an inside crank used to open and close outside window shutters eventually became the popular norm. Sarah is said to have patented this innovative porcelain laundry basin with its molded-in soap tray and washboard, although no record of this patent has been found. And in the North Conservatory, the slanted hardwood floors were removed when plants were watered. The runoff was captured and directed through a series of drain pipes to the garden below. So in addition to her otherworldly leanings, Sarah also had a very practical nature. In fact, some of the architectural oddities in the mansion could have practical explanations as well as mystical. For example, the odd switchback staircase that has 7 flights with 44 steps rising only 9 feet. Sarah requested the 2-inch easy risers to accommodate her arthritic condition. And the low ceilings and doorways may evoke claustrophobia in some, but they were plenty tall to allow the small Sarah an easy passage. The grounds also provide testimony to Sarah's ambiguous personality. The opulent, the mystical, and the practical are all present. Exquisite plants, trees, flowers, and shrubs grace the estate, imported from over 110 countries. From her gazebos, she could sit and enjoy her date palms, English yews, South American monkey puzzle tree, and Spanish firs. And the 4 fountains as they spread their glistening spray in the tranquil beauty created by Sarah. On the mystical side, there are 13 glass cupolas in the greenhouse and 13 fan palms lining the front driveway. The design on the estate's wrought iron front gates was thought to have a spiritualistic meaning for Sarah. Yet, we can only guess what that might have been. It's said that in an effort to placate the spirits of Native Americans killed by the Winchester rifle, Sarah placed this compelling statue at the estate entrance. It portrays Chief Little Fawn, a Native American who died defending his homeland. And on the practical side, Sarah was responsible for transforming her 161-acre estate into a working farm. The orchards produced plentiful crops of plums, apricots, and walnuts, and the fruit was dried in this special dehydrator. With its large coal furnace, it could dry half a ton of fruit in 30 hours. These were sold at market, supplementing Sarah's already enormous income. Sarah created an estate that was almost completely self-sufficient, with a plumber's shop, carpenter's workshop, and a mechanic's garage at her disposal. The 35-foot water tower housed the main water supply for the estate with a 10,000-gallon storage tank. An elaborate drainage system carries water through miles of pipe, connecting collection basins and cisterns around the mansion. It's still in use today. Unlike most homes of this era, the mansion had electricity for lighting, for several well pumps, and for the Otis electric elevator. The electricity was produced by an electric generator fueled by gas pumps. And in the days prior to electricity, Sarah's gas manufacturing plant pressed gas through the lines into the house by means of a large piston and cylinder. And for heating the mansion, a huge coal furnace in the basement was kept running night and day. This iron grate is part of the innovative gravity-fed air heating system that Sarah had installed, in addition to the radiators and 47 fireplaces that helped maintain the warmth Sarah required for her arthritis. Sarah may have been obsessed with the spiritualistic, but the legacy of her estate proves she was also an extremely capable and accomplished woman. No other place exists quite like it. It's an architectural marvel with its rambling rooftops, its turrets, cornices, finials, towers, curved walls, and all manner of ornamentation. The front entrance is adorned with beautiful mahogany and leaded glass doors, but sadly, no one ever used it. It's rumored that President Theodore Roosevelt came to call at these doors in 1903. But story has it that he was asked to use the servants' side entrance instead, and he refused and left in a huff. On the interior as well, Sarah spared no expense on finishing touches. She was a woman with exquisite taste. Elaborate hand-pieced floors and carved trimwork use a variety of oak, ash, maple, mahogany, teak, cherry, and rosewood. Lovely ceiling medallions and picture moldings, and rare French, English, and Oriental wall coverings decorate the exotic interiors. The Grand Ballroom is one of the best examples of Sarah's magnificent taste. It cost more than $9,000 to complete at a time when an entire house could be built for less than $1,000. The walls and parquet floor are made of 6 hardwoods, and the silver chandelier was imported from Germany. The most curious elements of the grand ballroom are the 2 stained glass windows with the inscriptions, "Wide unclasp the table of their thoughts," and "These same thoughts people this little world." They clearly held some special meaning for Sarah, but their significance remains a mystery today. There are more windows throughout the mansion, 10,000 of them. Some were custom designed in intriguing shapes, including triangles. Frames were hand-carved, and sometimes these beautiful windows were set in inconspicuous hallways where no light would ever pass through them, like this Tiffany window, which cost Mrs. Winchester $1,500. And so, the building and the adornment continued night and day. The mansion rose 7 stories. But then the top 3 toppled in the San Francisco earthquake of 1906. Sarah was trapped in this bedroom during the quake. It was hours before her servants located her and pried open the bedroom door. Sarah was determined the spirits were trying to tell her she had spent too much money on the front part of the house, so she immediately ordered the front 30 rooms boarded up, including the magnificent front entrance and the grand ballroom. Yet nothing could daunt the widow's determination, not even an earthquake. And she kept right on building. Sarah had an interest in art glass, and experts say that her collection is one of the finest and largest in the world. Unfortunately, many of her beautiful pieces were never installed. On September 5th, 1922, all construction came to a stop as workers learned of Mrs. Winchester's death. An unfinished dressing room for Sarah, servants' quarters, and a variety of other projects came to an abrupt halt. For nearly 38 years, the round-the-clock sawing, sanding, and hammering had been maintained. Were the spirits finally appeased? We have no way of knowing for sure. We do know, however, that though the 160-room mansion has its mystical uncertainty, its labyrinthine passages, and its confusing construction, Sarah Winchester's estate is one of the finest examples of Victorian craftsmanship to be found. And with people coming from all over the world to see her life's work, Sarah Winchester has, in some strange way, achieved her dream of eternal life.